Hello, everybody. It is Melissa. I'm so excited to be able to do this live stream here on my YouTube channel. This live stream really is going to be super info packed. I haven't done one of these in such a long time. Oops.
It is Melissa.
There we go. Just make sure I mute that so you don't hear me going twice because that's annoying. We don't need two Melissas. That's just a lot of information. Anyways, I am really excited about this live, and the reason why I'm super excited about this live is because of the fact that I have some really important information to share with you guys about thyroid dysfunction. Now, if you don't know this already, you're going to find out real soon, but this is a topic that I am extremely passionate about, and it really is birthed from several things. Number one, I struggle with, I have, and I do struggle with thyroid issues myself, of which they are getting better. Number two, I've seen a lot of women just slip through the cracks, and it's not fair, and it needs to stop. And the only way that we can stop ourselves from slipping through the cracks and being told that everything is normal when we feel like crap is to be able to educate ourselves, to commit to our health, and to really invest in who we are. And women, honestly, many of you guys just don't feel that you're worth that investment. And gosh, we're going to dive into all this today. So if you have ever suspected, or maybe you already know that you have thyroid issues, this is going to be the live stream for you. I'm going to be giving you an indication of the various thyroid pathologies that I am seeing just slip through the cracks, things that we're not seeing on blood work, supplements that you can take, why these things happen, and to give you a better understanding that just because you may have a thyroid condition, and I know that I have one, does not mean that we both got this thyroid condition like the same reason why. Like a lot of women will say, well, what supplement should I take for my thyroid? It doesn't work that way. Get this out of your head. The faster you can get out of your head that your thyroid issues, your PCOS, your endometriosis, your fibroids, your ovarian cysts, your cystic acne, your weight gain, your depression, that all these things are nothing but symptoms. And frankly, I don't blame you for thinking this, because we've been conditioned to think this way in society, because you get a pill for your ill and that's what ends up happening. And it's really a really shitty way to approach things, because there's not even a root cause. And I know that might surprise you, but think of your thyroid. These are your thyroid issues, okay? So you've got hypothyroidism, and all of a sudden think of like a football game, okay? The guy gets tackled and all these dudes are on top of it. Well, this is what I mean by causative factors. All those guys, once we peel the layers off, that these are the causative factors. So is there mold that is a part of your thyroid issues? Is it inflammation that's happening in your gut? Are you really stressed out? Like, how many of you guys who are listening in live right now would adamantly say that you are stressed out? You're really struggling with stress, okay? We're going to be diving into this. So a lot of information today. I'm definitely going to give you some links on where you can get a couple of supplements, and these are not supplements that are going to cure your issues, but there are things that can help with some of the causative factors. Okay. And oftentimes when someone has thyroid issues, for example, they'll also have fibroids. They may also have polycystic ovarian syndrome. It really does overlap. And I'm going to be talking about why this is, why there is overlap. So first and foremost, let's just dive right in, because I don't want to keep you guys, and I really want to make sure we get into these issues and understanding that we get medications for our hypothyroidism, and oftentimes women will not fall within the normal lab range. Now, this is actually something that's really you're going to struggle with, because if you go to the doctor and they say, well, everything is normal, it's because you're falling within their lab range. And lab ranges are incredibly broad. So lab ranges, for example, and we're just going to take one marker here. So TSH, if you ever see that on your lab work, what you are going to notice is that the range, and it depends on the state, the province, the country. There's like this kind of joke that practitioners say is like, if you want to have a different result, just go into a different state or a different province or go to a different lab, is because ranges sometimes vary. Even units of measure can vary a little bit. But TSH, for example, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone, is usually what your doctor will test. Now, testing this alone is definitely not enough for us to understand the function of your thyroid. It's not. Okay, there's many, many other markers. And so I actually have a complete listing of markers that you should go get tested. And for you to actually go get this tested, if you're getting pushback from your doctor, I also have a resource on where you can get these tested. So if you want to make sure that you get in on this, I just put the link. It's in my free Thyroid 411 guide. I will put the link in there. So please make sure that you download that. Just tell us where to send it and we'll send that over to you. Okay, so TSH, the normal lab range is between 0.4 and 4.0. I have actually seen some labs that actually say that it can go up to 5. To me, this is bananas. Now, the reason why that this is bananas is because lab ranges are based on a sick population. The ranges that we look at in practice are called functional ranges. And these are the ranges that your thyroid is required to function in. And they're more narrow, and they help us to give a really good understanding of how your thyroid is functioning. But a lab range is 0.4 generally to 4.0, which is nuts. For a functional range of TSH, we usually look at it that goes to 1, not 4, not 1, 2. So 0.4, it can be to 0.4 to even 2. Can you imagine that? So a lot of women will have a TSH, for example. I'm just taking one marker. Now I have all those markers listed in that free Thyroid 411 guide. So make sure you download that link. But imagine if your TSH is at 2.43. That's the result you get. Your doctor will tell you that everything is normal. And you'll walk out going, but I don't get it. I don't feel normal. This is what really gets my goat, guys. And it gets my goat because you walk away feeling like crap. Your doctor may tell you it's all in your head, and your doctor may end up giving you antidepressants, which, by the way, some antidepressants increase the rates of suicide. Antidepressants also creates numerous deficiencies. All medications create some level of deficiencies. So now I want to help you understand that this is just one of the many problems where women are slipping through the cracks with thyroid dysfunction. So now, TSH. So TSH, we see thyroid stimulating hormone, okay? But the thing to understand about all thyroid issues is that the majority of them are autoimmune related. The majority. And the reason why I say the majority of them are autoimmune related is because 97% of women who have hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroid condition which afflicts 97% of those with hypothyroidism. I happen to be one of those. And all autoimmunity is rooted in the gut. You're going to hear the gut come up a lot. I talk about the gut a lot. I talk about thyroid issues. I talk about estrogen dominance, so issues like PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, etc. These are things I've grappled with. Some of those I've grappled with. Okay, I had an ovarian cyst that had ruptured. It tore off a piece of my right ovary, and I almost died. Okay, not surprising. I also have thyroid issues, and this is where women go, oh my God, I feel like I'm falling apart. How many of you guys feel that way? Like everything is falling apart. It's not that it's everything falling apart. It's that a lot of them, these issues are interrelated. All right, so I want to be able to just say, I'm going to put this on mute because that's going to be annoying for you guys. So let's go into this. Here are the things that often are not shown on blood work. So number one, if you have hypothyroidism, okay, one of the big reasons that you could have hypothyroidism is due to stress. All right, this should not be a big surprise. So your entire hormonal system is like a symphony. So when one part of your hormonal system is really struggling, it's going to force other parts of your hormonal system to keep up. So think of like one part of the symphony is sick, they're not around. Well, guess what ends up happening? The orchestra sounds out of tune. And this is where we start to see things fall apart. So if you're really stressed, chronically stressed out, you are going to end up seeing that your thyroid is going to suffer. So hypothyroidism absolutely can be due to chronic stress levels. A lot of women post-pregnancy will struggle with hypothyroidism even before pregnancy, but that's a big one. Blood sugar imbalances. Now, if you're kind of unsure what the heck that means, it means when you get hangry, so you get irritable because you haven't eaten, that ends up coming up. Maybe it's because you are a carb addict. You are eating a high carbohydrate diet. You're feeling hungry fairly quickly afterwards. You may feel your blood sugar drop. You might end up feeling kind of like dizzy. Maybe you have insulin resistance due to polycystic ovarian syndrome. Well, these are all stressors on the body. And what ends up happening is these stressors fatigue a gland in your brain called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is like the puppet master for your hormones. Okay? And so when we end up seeing this, your body can no longer signal the thyroid to release enough thyroid hormone. There's actually nothing wrong with the thyroid gland itself. What is happening here is the pituitary gland is exhausted because of your stress levels. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why that I keep talking to women when they're like, oh my God, and they're super fucking reactive. They are women who are panicking, catastrophizing, and wondering what supplement to take, but yet you're not going to bed at a decent time. Most people that I know have a non-negotiable time that they're supposed to wake up at, but their sleep time is not non-negotiable. They're staying up watching Netflix. They're staying up on their iPhones because they're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. Guys, this is destroying your health. If you think stress is just because you got work stress, stress is also how you're showing up to life. And one of the biggest things that is going to crush your adrenals is your sleep, because your sleep hygiene sucks. Your room should be cool. Okay, it should be about 19 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. The other thing, if you your room should be dark. So think about maybe having blackout curtains, or I wear a night mask. The other thing that you also should think about is getting off your devices at least an hour before bedtime. The other thing that I also need to be able to state to you is that if you are somebody who has lights all, like, I usually dim my lights in my, well, I live in an RV, so I live in a tiny home on wheels, but like we dim the lights. Because if there's lights all around, it's signaling to the brain, stay up. Okay? At night, your body should be winding down. In the morning, turn on all those lights. But in today's society, what we're doing is we're doing the opposite. During the day, people have sunglasses on, and you might be thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with sunglasses? Well, guess what? If you're wearing sunglasses during the day and it's sunny, you're blocking out the light, the crucial sunlight that needs to be coming into your eyes to signal to your brain to produce serotonin, which is a feel-good, happy hormone. Then in the evening time, we're on our devices. So we're doing the opposite. We're not allowing sunlight in, and in the evening, we're on our devices and have this blue light that's coming in. So many, many, many women will sit here and complain to me. They won't read what I'm writing to them and saying to them, like, ladies, you need to be watching your cortisol levels, please, please, please. Or eventually, if those stress levels are mismanaged, and you have power over that. That is the wonderful thing, is you have power over this. You have power to change all of it, but you're not going to if you're just sitting there and complaining about how shitty your life is, but you're doing nothing to actually change it. Now, one of the things you can do is wear blue blockers. Now, you've probably seen these glasses. They have an orange tint on them. You don't wear those during the day. You wear them in the evening. But that doesn't give you license to stay glued on your mobile device, or in front of your laptop, or in front of your television screen. It just means you can wear these in the evening. A lot of people will say like, okay, well, what supplement can I take? And I can already see it in the comments. And this is when people are not fucking listening to me. Stop doing this. It's not just about supplementation. Your lifestyle changes is part of your protocol. If you ever work with me in Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program, you will know that I'm adamant about lifestyle, because if that is not a part of your protocol and you're not valuing that just equally as much, the rest of it in the supplementations is expensive urine, as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you do end up wanting to get blue blockers, the ones that I like quite a bit are the ones from Swanwick. And I will actually post the link where you can get them. And you can get it with a coupon code, which will end up saving you about for 15% off. And it's Sexy Blue Blockers. So I've put my link there, but remember, this does not give you license to stay up till all hours of the night. Okay, so that's definitely one thing that I also want to be able to state to you. Now, the other thing that I see way too often is when women are getting full thyroid blood work done, and what we're seeing is that there is a hormone, T4. Sometimes that gets tested, sometimes it doesn't, but that is your inactive thyroid hormone. Then there is T3, which is your active thyroid hormone, okay? Now, what I'll see is that women, and this was a pattern for me as well, is that there's an underconversion between T4 to T3, because you have to make this active thyroid hormone from your inactive thyroid hormone. In fact, 90% of your thyroid hormone is produced from T4, because you have to convert T4 to T3. But oftentimes there's an underconversion with that. And the reason why that this happens is several reasons. Number one, stress is a part of it. Listen, guys, I did everything under the sun. I was taking supplementation. I was drinking enough water. I was getting movement in. I was eating healthy foods. I was doing all of that. And my T3 was still shit. My thyroid was still not performing very well. My antibodies kept going up. I started to still replicate more thyroid nodules. Some of them were even growing. One was 1 millimeter away from getting biopsied for cancer. And one of the things I ended up implementing that really helped me was breath work. I can give you the resource of the book that I read that I'm adamant about, and it's called The Presence Process. So the Presence Process is absolutely amazing. It's from an author by the name of Michael Brown. And I would highly suggest it, especially for those of you guys who are stressed. But the majority of fucking people who tell me they're stressed, and I see some people on here who've DM'd me on Instagram looking for all the free advice, but are not willing to actually commit to themselves, not willing to invest in themselves, will sit there and commiserate and complain and will not do the fucking work. If you're not willing to do the work, I'm not interested. Because I'm not interested in people who are just using this victim state that they're in, which is benefiting them in some way because maybe they're getting sympathy, etc. I know that that's a harsh reality, but I see all too many women. I've been doing this for 15 years, and there's some people who just don't want to get out of the rut they're in. They just want to complain and stay in that victim state mentality, or being a martyr. I do everything for everybody else. No one does anything for me. You choose it. You choose it. Stop being codependent. Stop sacrificing yourself to enable other people. You have the power to change that. Okay? This definitely is a pattern I see from women over the age of 35. The wonderful thing I always tell women is that you have the power to look back on your life and go, this is how I've led my life up until this point. Like, I'm 42 years old. So I looked at my life and go, this is how I've led my life up until this point. Now, I have an incredible opportunity, as all of you guys as well, to look at the next part of my life and go, do I want to continue living this way for the rest of my life? Like, what can I actually change? I had codependent patterns for sure. I felt responsible for other people's happiness. So I'd sacrifice myself to make sure they were happy first. And oftentimes that's a self-worth issue. You know, the more that we create esteemable acts, the more we build self-esteem. Okay? But the other thing, and the other reason why T4 to T3 doesn't happen, that conversion that we so need for our thyroid, other than giving to everybody else except for ourselves, is because of low iron. A lot of people will think that We just got to get a thyroid panel, and that's going to tell us everything we need to know about our thyroid. But we also need to know our ferritin levels. So on your blood work, you have iron, and then you also have ferritin. So ferritin is a marker on your blood work that helps us understand how much of the iron that we're intaking is actually being stored in our body. Like, how much are we actually storing? It's a really crucial marker. I had one woman where her iron levels were fine on her blood work, but her doctor never tested her ferritin. When she got her ferritin levels, they were the lowest I've ever seen clinically. Like, to the point that the lab retested her ferritin levels because they thought it was a mistake. Crazy, right? Well, if we don't have enough iron, we can't do that conversion. So what's the answer in that regard? Is it taking oral iron supplementation? I don't believe so. I mean, that may help symptomatically. But one of the reasons why we may actually have low iron is due to gut infections. These are things that I actually work on in Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program. And I'm not going to put a link for my membership here because really this is not a live stream to give you guys a sales pitch by any stretch. I'm just mentioning it. But gut infections are a huge piece of the thyroid puzzle. Huge piece. So many people are taking supplements for their thyroid. They're like, I need selenium. I saw someone write it in our comments here on our live stream. I need selenium. That's what you need. Yes, you need selenium for your thyroid. Sure. I need to make sure that I'm taking this supplement. I need to take, sure. But that is symptomatically. Stop fucking looking at your thyroid as though it is the problem. It's the root cause. It is not. It is just a symptom. If you keep doing that, you're going to keep chasing your tail and spending more money and complaining about why all these supplements are so expensive. It's because you are not addressing why it is messed up to begin with. Gut infections is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Like I said, I put in the comments above. They're also in the comments in my video. I can post it again, but I actually have that Thyroid 411 guide. It is absolutely for free. Make sure you download it because not only will I give you a listing of all the markers that you need to get, where to get it, some of the supplements you can take, and I'm also going to end up sending you a couple of emails there afterwards with step-by-step on what you can do because with thyroid issues, my thyroid antibodies are the lowest they've ever been to the point that I'm almost in normal range. Did this happen overnight? No, I did it step by step, and I want to be able to teach you a lot of the things that I did that was able to help me. Okay? The other reason why T4 to T3 conversion can be really poor is because sometimes there could be high levels of estrogen. Now, this is where we see that link. So somebody here had said that they have fibroids. Well, guess what? If you have fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, these conditions, which are also symptoms. So if you have fibroids, it's a symptom. If you have PCOS, it's a symptom. What is causing these issues to happen? It's never one thing. It's multiple things. So for example, why did a marriage fall apart? Right? Well, there were probably a ton of reasons why a marriage fell apart. It's the same thing with your thyroid. Why did the thyroid get all messed up? Well, it got all messed up for a variety of reasons. It could be stress. There could be they were eating like shit. There could be nutrient deficiencies because maybe you're on medications. Birth control pill also can create deficiencies that your thyroid requires. But when we look at estrogen dominance, when estrogen levels are elevated, that's going to end up preventing that conversion from T4 to T3. It's one of the reasons why we see thyroid issues and estrogen dominance really oftentimes go hand in hand. I have fibroids as well. I have 3 of them, one of which is shrinking, which is amazing. If you can have fibroids that literally just don't grow, after when you hit menopause, generally it doesn't become a problem. But to shrink a fibroid, it can be a little bit challenging. So oftentimes I tell women if you get an updated transvag or intrauterine ultrasound and it hasn't actually grown at all, then guess what? That's a success. Okay. But you definitely want to be able to address the estrogen if there are high estrogen levels, because that might be the reason why your T3 levels are so low. When we have low T3, what are some of the symptoms? Well, you could feel constipated. Your hair might be falling out. You might feel depressed. You might feel tired. You might struggle with your weight. These are all symptoms of low T3, which once again, just to remind you, is your active thyroid hormone. T4 is your inactive thyroid hormone, and it's supposed to convert T4 to T3. Okay? I hope that makes sense. And thank you very much for Quinn Lake, who says that I look like I'm 30. Bless your heart. I appreciate your realness, says Susie West. I have one that I'm hoping will shrink as well. I really believe that all these things are absolutely possible. Oh, someone says, can you have fibroids and not know? Yes, I can actually do a whole live stream on fibroids. If you guys want me to do more live streams, I can. I wasn't doing them for a while, but I absolutely can, and it's kind of nice to couple them with some of the videos that I do. So if you want me to do that, I can do a whole thing on fibroids, okay? So I'm not going to get into the fibroid discussion here because we're talking about the thyroid. So I want to stay on topic, and I want to make sure that I get to a lot of these issues. So another reason why there could be an underconversion of T4 to T3, so you're not making enough T3 from T4, is due to inflammation. Now, when I say inflammation, oftentimes people are thinking like, I bumped myself or I hit myself and I got this big welt. Well, that is, localized inflammation. But systemic inflammation oftentimes is that like silent killer. All right? Not silent killer, but it's something that's like that we don't see, but we absolutely feel it, right? Like if you have inflammation, you'll see that you'll have issues with depression and struggle with your mental health. Is the answer necessarily to go on medication? I really believe that oftentimes we are, and I'm going to do a whole live stream on mental health because I can go on a massive rant, but inflammation is a huge part as to why people are struggling not only with that conversion from T4 to T3, but with their mental health. And that inflammation is coming from oftentimes, guess where? Your gut. Not always. It absolutely can be coming from mold. Now, mold is not what harms us. It's the toxins coming out of the mold, which are called mycotoxins. Mycotoxicities. So, for example, we think of mold. Have you ever seen those little black dots and stuff, black mold? That's one type of mold, but it has its own mycotoxin, okay? If you've ever seen fruit go bad, you'll see like the greenish, bluish mold. That's a different type of mold, and that has a different mycotoxin. It's not about, if you're going to be exposed to mold, it's when you're going to be exposed to mold. So this is something also extremely important to look at because it can create a lot of issues. Now, I moved out of my apartment in the city, and I did so because I suspected strongly that I had mold in my apartment. And one of the things that I talk about when it comes to mold is that absolutely can be a factor between that conversion of T4 to T3. It can really halt that conversion. If mold is a part of your issues, there's literally 100 different symptoms. I'm not even over-exaggerating. There's 100 different symptoms to if somebody has been affected by mold and really affected by it. And oftentimes in households, one partner will be okay and the other one is struggling. That was my case. My husband is like strong as an ox, and his body probably detoxes really well. I might have an issue with one of my detox pathways that prevents me from detoxing that mycotoxin produced from the black mold that I believe that I was affected by. And this is where we start to see women who are doing everything under the sun. And I'm not talking self-diagnosing because many of you guys self-diagnose. Stop it. Stop self-diagnosing and complaining to me that shit is so expensive because you're literally creating that expense all on your own. If you literally invested in yourself to do some of the testing, you probably would invest a little bit up front, but then realize that you have answers and you can actually approach this head on. And that ends up saving you money, frustration, and time and energy in the long run. But again, I'm not going to dive into that. Again, like I said, if you guys want step-by-step ways of what you can do for your thyroid, make sure to get that guide because that is the first step. And then I'm going to end up giving you emails there afterwards. It's going to give you step-by-step on what you can do and also some incredible, insane discounts that I don't give out to anybody else. So here's one thing that I want to mention because Candy Apples 305 here on YouTube says, I agree, food allergies can trigger immune response and in return inflammation, but here's a step that you're not realizing. So allergies, intolerances, if you eat gluten, for example, guys, I think gluten is a non-negotiable. We should not fucking be eating gluten, okay? We shouldn't. Now, there was a study that was done by the Institute of functional medicine that said that when we eat gluten, that within 5 minutes we see a destruction to to our small intestine. So we begin to see permeability actually begin to happen. This is bananas crazy to me. 5 minutes. 5. That's crazy. All right? And it can take months, even years, to begin to rectify the damage created. So when women come into the natural health world, they're expecting results like now. And I'm like, woman, did it take you 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 months to get to where you're at? No. But you got to stay committed and realize that just because it may take you years to fix and undo the damage that has been done, it doesn't mean that it's going to take you years to finally feel better. You start to feel better along the way. Although healing isn't linear and it could take you a while to really get there. But if there is a leaky gut because there has been, you're eating shit, because you're not sleeping, like if you don't sleep, I cannot tell you how absolutely crucial this is, guys. It is crucial. I go to bed at 8:30 in the evening. I'm like a grandma. And I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. That's why I go to bed so late. Somebody asked me on Instagram, well, what time do you eat? The latest I eat is 5 p.m. because you should not be eating very close to bed. You should be going to bed with an empty tummy. Otherwise, your nervous system doesn't have time to rest. And then you're not repairing. That's not good for your hormones either. So if you end up having a leaky gut because you're eating shit, because you're not sleeping, because you're really stressed out, you're not managing your stress levels, you're extremely codependent, all you do is commiserate and complain and you react. What ends up happening, we end up seeing a leaky gut occur. This is when we have holes in our small intestine and food particles and toxins go in there and the body screams invader. And you know what ends up happening? You end up becoming intolerant to so many foods. It doesn't mean that will be for life. It means you can repair that. It means you probably can eat some of these foods at some point. But oftentimes women will say to me, I want to get a food intolerance test. I want to find out what I'm allergic to. I want to find out what I'm intolerant to. And I always tell them, food intolerance testing, at least what we offer in our membership, because we offer one, it's extremely expensive. It's never my first place that I want women to start with, ever. And the reason why is because if you have gut infections that are there, you actually could show a positive to a specific food. So it might say you are intolerant to mushrooms, let's just say, or carrots. But you're actually not really intolerant to it. It's just because you have all this dysbiosis, a lot of bad bacteria in that bacterial party, a lot of gut infections that are creating you to react to a lot of foods that you wouldn't have otherwise reacted to if you actually just worked on the gut infections alone. Okay? So intolerances, while I do believe in them strongly, I've had food intolerance testing done, it is usually not the first place that I tell people to go to because it's extremely expensive and I want people to spend their money wisely. So that's also something that I just want to be able to state there because I think I'm happy that Candy Apple's 305, that you mention that because I get that question a lot. So when we end up having inflammation, we end up developing really a lot of damaged cell membranes, which ain't good at all. We can't convert T4 to T3. Remember, stress can actually impede that conversion from T4 to T3. We can see high estrogen levels impede that conversion from T4 to T3. These are all patterns that ends up happening, and this is extremely freaking common, but the problem is that the proper blood work testing isn't getting done. The amount of women who tell me, well, just tell me what to get tested. I'm going to take this list to my doctor, and I'm going to get him to test it. And I always tell them, good luck on that, because your GP probably won't test everything. And the reason why is usually due to insurance cuts. So my job generally is to get women answers. Is adding some baking soda to your hot tea okay? Fuck no. Why would you do that? Why would you ever do that, Susie? Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is there are antibodies that you want to get tested. Okay. Like I said, that full thyroid list I have included in my free Thyroid 411 guide. Please make sure you download that. But one of those thyroid antibodies I will let you know is called thyroglobulin. thyroglobulin. It's kind of fun to say. Thyroglobulin. So thyroglobulin, you'll see it on the blood work. It's called T as in Tom, B as in Bob, G as in George, TBG. Okay? Sometimes you will see this antibody elevated. The heck does that mean if it's elevated? Well, what this thyroid-binding globulin, which is what that TBG stands for, thyroid-binding globulin, this is a protein that transports thyroid hormone through the blood. Okay? When you end up seeing, when thyroid hormone is bound to thyroid-binding globulin, it's inactive and unavailable to your tissues. That's not a good thing. So if thyroid-binding globulin, that TBG marker, is elevated on your blood work, your free thyroid hormone will be low, okay? And this can actually lead to thyroid, many hypothyroid symptoms, okay? So why does this happen? Why do you end up seeing high levels of this antibody, which is called thyroid-binding globulin, TBG? The reason oftentimes is due to high estrogen levels. And what I normally see in practice is it's usually associated with high levels of estrogen. So maybe you have PCOS, maybe you have fibroids. Sometimes it could actually be estrogen creams that your GP has put you on, synthetic estrogen creams. If women are going through hormone replacement therapy, they could be put on Premarin. Side note, Premarin is actually derived from a mare's urine, so a horse's urine. Fun times. Also, we could see TBG elevated if you have been on the birth control. Okay. So we really, in this pattern, we really need to remove this excess estrogen from the body. Now, this is where women go, well, which supplement can I take? And I'm like, it doesn't just work that way. We have to be able to understand a little bit more about the pathology to understand it. I'm not going to dive into that because, as you can see, I can talk for hours about this subject, but I want to give you guys an overview about these common thyroid problems that often don't show up on blood work because usually that blood work isn't being done, the complete blood work isn't being done properly. So that's one thing. Karen asks a great question. She goes, what is the functional marker of ferritin? So ferritin is not spelled with an A, just so you know, it's with an I. There's two I's in it. So Ferritin. Your ferritin level should be around 50. If it is under 50, it's considered low functionally. Okay, so it's a really good question. So thank you for asking that. She also says, hello, my doctor says I'm at a 4.06 on my TSH and have nothing to worry about. Oh, Lord help. God have mercy. Not good. That is hypothyroidism. You are hypothyroidism if your TSH is over a 2, but that's still not enough to understand what's going on. This is the reason why I'm doing this live stream. Okay? So, all right. I've been drinking ginger tea and using lots of clary sage and frankincense oil on my belly along with interval workouts, trying to get these tender spots in my belly gone. Okay, so this has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. We have to stay on topic. Okay, so this is a little bit about that high levels of thyroid-binding globulin. What happens if that TBG is actually low? That is also a cause. Now, you might be like, well, if it's low, maybe that means I have hyperthyroidism. That is untrue. That is not. Your free thyroid hormone will appear like it's elevated, and you might think that you have hyperthyroid symptoms. But the problem is that free thyroid hormone that you have is in the bloodstream, and it causes the cells to develop a resistance to them. So you have more than enough thyroid hormone, but the cells can't use it. They're starving for it. Okay, so you actually still have hypothyroidism, an underactive thyroid gland, not hyper. So in this pattern, what we end up seeing is that thyroid stimulating hormone and T4 sometimes will just look totally normal. You'll go home and your doc will be, it's all normal. But if T3 is actually tested, it will look high. This is where people go wrong because they think they have hyperthyroidism. Not necessarily. Your cells are just starving for it because they're not utilizing it. Oftentimes, this usually, when we see a decrease, like a low level amount of thyroid binding globulin, it's often caused by high testosterone levels. Okay. This is commonly associated with women who, guess what, have polycystic ovarian syndrome, the form of polycystic ovarian syndrome, which there are multiple forms of this, where it is associated with insulin resistance. So these are women who struggle with their weight. They have insulin resistance associated PCOS. Okay. Making sure that you are actually addressing your blood sugar control. And you might be like, how do I do that? Well, ladies, you got to fix what you're eating. You shouldn't be eating a high carb diet. There should be high amounts of protein, high amounts of fat. These two things are going to help to keep you satiated. I'm not saying, vegetables are the demon, but oftentimes I think women get it reversed where they think that they have to have a high amount of vegetables on their plate, low amounts of protein, low amounts of fat, and I think it's doing them a disservice when they're eating nothing but chicken, boneless, skinless chicken breast on, salad, and they think that this is actually going to help them, and it's not. It's an absence of fat, and it's not enough protein or fat. So that's actually a really, really big one. So we're going to be talking about what you absolutely can do. And I just want to be able to state this. So with oils, I'm not poo-pooing oils. I'm a huge fan of essential oils. You guys know this. I've talked about it a lot on my YouTube. But if you're using oils and you think that this is going to help with belly fat or this is going to help you with your thyroid issues, you're missing a huge fucking piece of the puzzle because you are treating it and addressing it symptomatically. So for those of you guys who are commenting on oils, you have to understand if you are not looking at what is causing, if you're not listening to what I'm saying, this is what is causing these issues, because that is what has to be addressed. Otherwise, you're just going to be complaining why these things are so expensive and why you keep feeling like shit. Thyroid resistance is a huge one, guys. But again, this also comes down to chronic stress, high cortisol levels, are a very, very, very big part of this picture that we have to address. So what can we do from a supplement perspective? Because I know people always ask me this. I don't love talking about supplements because I find that women nowadays think that they take a supplement and it's just going to fix their woes, and it's just not how it works. But I will tell you that one of my favorite supplements that does have an adrenal glandular to it, but this supplement specifically, it's called Adrenatone from Designs for Health. I'll actually put some of my shop links there for those of you guys who are in Canada or in the US, because there are different links that you would actually go to. You'll see the different links. Sorry, it's a little bit all over the place. Let me see if I can actually remove that because that looks weird. Hang on a second here. All right, just so that doesn't look all strange. Okay, that looks a little better. So Adrenatone's really good, especially for that first pattern that I was talking about, where I was saying there's high stress levels, but it's high stress levels for so long that the pituitary gland just is like, I'm done, guys. I'm out of here. And so what we need to do is make sure that we strengthen the communication between our adrenal glands, which is where the cortisol, our hormone, which is released in response to stress, so that adrenals and the brain can start talking to one another. When that communication between the brain and the adrenals stops, we end up seeing women who have a low cortisol pattern. And it's not because you're not producing enough cortisol. Well, it is you're not producing enough cortisol, but it's because the brain goes, all right, there's more than enough cortisol floating around this system. I'm just going to tell the adrenals, stop pumping it out. You don't need to. Okay? And when that happens, it's because the brain goes, there's way more than enough that's floating around. Stop pumping out cortisol. And this is where we start to see low cortisol levels that end up happening. What to do if you're trying to include more fat, but stools start to get yellow? You have to look at your liver and your gallbladder function. If you have greasy stools where it's like greasy after you flush, if your stools are hard and yellow, that means that liver and gallbladder work are absolutely required. And you may be listening to this live stream feeling like super overwhelmed, going, oh my God, there is so much to actually learn. I feel really overwhelmed listening to you, Melissa. This is the whole reason why that we have to work step by step. And if you are willing to commit to yourself, which a lot of women aren't because they give to everybody else, but if you're so done with that, grab that guide that I mentioned several times in this live stream, because after you get that guide, like I said, you'll get a series of emails where I'll walk you through step by step on what you can do. But Adrenatone is one really great thing to take. You can take 2 capsules with each meal. I probably wouldn't do it in the evening just because I don't want you to feel hyperstimulated. So that's one thing. The other thing that I really feel, I can't stress this enough, is really, really crucial with or without meals. And this is for leaky gut support. Now, you guys, you're either going to love this supplement, and I will include the link in 2 shakes, so hang tight. You're going to love this supplement, or you're going to flippin' hate it, the taste of it. I love it because it's sweet, and I have a sweet tooth. But this is one supplement that I swear by for a leaky gut. And remember, I was saying to you guys before that all thyroid issues have a gut component to it, and leaky gut is generally a part of the picture because 97% of hypothyroidism is autoimmune related. If it's autoimmune related, it is very much associated with a leaky gut. It's called mega mucosa. This is a powder. You do 1 scoop with or without meals, and you put this into water, and you have this for leaky gut support. Now, just a side note with that, when you go to that link, you're going to be asked to, you cannot get that product without a practitioner. So you have to get it through a practitioner. You can't get it on Amazon. You can't get it through your health food store. You have to get it through a practitioner. That is my link, but you will be asked to register before you purchase. So if you're like, wait, where's the shop link? I don't understand. It's telling me to register. You have to register. And even though I'm giving people instructions, I can guarantee someone is going to go, I don't understand, because they weren't listening. Is there a link between hypothyroidism and high purine levels? I guess uric acid, potentially, but I'd have to see your whole blood work. Because I don't address paper, I address people. So I have to see everything. And once I do, yeah, maybe there could be a link towards it, but I have to see the patterns that are being created there that are extremely important. All right, guys. So I have given you all these thyroid patterns and problems, common thyroid problems that I see that are not showing up on blood work. Women are going and slipping through the cracks consistently. I've given you some starter tools that you can begin implementing ASAP, from supplements to blue blocker glasses. I've also given you guys a free guide. Like I said, if you want to hear more from me, you want to understand what the heck you can do, step-by-step instruction, I'm going to give you all that information and so much more, but you got to let me know where to send that guide, email, name, and we'll send it over. All right, guys, I have super enjoyed doing this live stream with you guys. It has been a complete treat to be able to share everything that I know, or at least a slice of what I know, in less than an hour here on YouTube. I will continue to do live streams in the future, so stay tuned. Make sure that you guys like this video as you are watching. Please, please, please. There's like 47 of you guys watching live. 10 of you guys put the thumbs up. Please make sure that you like this right now. Talk later about estrogen dominance, please. And she's crying. Stop fucking crying. Stop crying. We're not commiserating. We are going to be empowered instead. Please do not cry. You can do this. I know that you can. You are stronger than that. I wouldn't purchase the Mega Mucosa through Amazon, but I've seen it available there. Never, ever, ever purchase supplements on Amazon because oftentimes they are adulterated. So make sure you go through that link. Yeah, don't purchase shit through Amazon. Not oils, not supplements. Don't do it through Amazon. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening in. I super appreciate you guys. Go like ASAP right now. If you haven't liked it, please make sure you do so. Go share this link or this video if you enjoyed it. Go download that guide right now and stay tuned for more info to come. I already see you guys liking this video. Oh, and subscribe. That way you don't miss a thing. Oh, and side note, I'm going to be posting a video on, just for fun, the inside of my RV. Because people have been asking that. Apparently you guys want to see it. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll chat with you soon.